My name is Clarence Alexander Bader. My friends call me Cab. I've been farming here in Hawaii, organically and rejuvenatively, for 41 years. My wife Gail and I have Hawaii Royal Hemp and have the first hemp permit in the state of Hawaii.
Yeah, we did. It was under Hawaii's hemp pilot program, which Clarence helped pass. Was the force in getting that legislation passed and signed. And so we spent the last 2 years doing research, because the pilot programs around the country require you to be doing research. And we looked at a variety of factors that can affect hemp growth here in Hawaii. And our research is, Clarence hit every mark, whether it was water consumption, pest management, you name it. We did get some interesting data. I think our biggest pests were pigs, but you managed to deal with everything else. And I think the conclusion we came to from our research was regenerative no-till farming works in Hawaii, even at larger scales.
Effective microorganisms are one of the key elements in my consultations for people.
This is Ian Bokashi, one of my favorite tools in the garden. Celebrated in 300 countries around the world, I think it's going to be the way to grow our food and rejuvenate our soil.
Now, all of these factors usually are very attractive to farmers. And the increase in yields is just part of it, because we see the increase in yield as a response to the health of the soil. So year to year, as you develop your soil, your yields will get greater as your quality of soil increases. The microbes in the soil are what we're setting up as a system to run. I don't have to measure the pH. I don't have to measure all the different inputs unless I've really got something out of balance. As long as I put a well-balanced nutritional diet of rock dust and bokashi, effective microorganisms, then we will see that field develop into a very fine field in just 3 years. And the greater things about being able to take over the toxins that we've used in our cultures, our environments of farming mechanically or with chemicals, this will be remediated very quickly, as we have seen the microorganisms go to work, and within 3 weeks we're going to see all kinds of toxic chemicals and things like that being broken down right there in the soil with the bacterial assistance. So for the hemp farmer, this is a real big one. We can get fields that are new to the hemp world adjusted quickly so that they can be farming really good quality hemp. We're also going to do huge water savings. We're doing soil remediation that will impact the groundwater. So just like if everybody would flush bokashi down the toilet, we would see our groundwater improve very quickly instead of waiting 20 years just to measure the pollution that we have in our groundwater. So this is being used in over 300 countries around the world, effective microorganisms. And even bokashi is being used now to clean up the Alawai Canal here in Hawaii. So we know that these microbes are a very powerful combination, researched heavily by Dr. Higa, who helped teach Master Cho what he is all about. And we would like to say that this has been studied for centuries. This is not just brand new, but Dr. Higa did put it into a form at Riku's University that we would understand and we could apply easily throughout the world.
In addition to farming hemp in Hawaii, you've consulted on hemp grows in Canada, California, Washington, and Colorado, both greenhouses and field grows. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, they all have several things in common. Everybody is looking to do a really good job. They are all looking to be looking at the bottom line as well. So in that, we want to be able to utilize our resources and our abilities to make field applications over and over again efficient, and soil building practices so that we will increase our yields every year.
What is one of the primary differences in growing hemp in Hawaii?
We are blessed because hemp in Hawaii, we get to grow 3 seasons where most of the nation gets to grow 1 or 2. So we possibly have more experience growing hemp here in Hawaii just because of more days at it.
How would you describe your journey in farming hemp in Hawaii?
It's been a wonderful journey.
No challenges, huh?
We've come a long way to show that hemp can be very valuable at cleaning up the land, working with the university and experiments with Dr. Ko. And we've shown that this can be a really valuable tool at aiding the rebuilding of Hawaii soils and then transitioning into planting forests and other things that will really benefit Hawaii.
Yeah, I was talking to someone just a couple of weeks ago about you, and they were saying what a pioneer you've been in agriculture in Hawaii. And the more I reflected on that, I was like, I couldn't agree more. You've done so many things, so many firsts here in Hawaii, or we're helping push initiatives forward. Everything from being a charter member of the Herb Association in the mid-'80s, which merged into co-founding the Ohio Organic Farmers Association, I think in the early 90s or earlier. And then in 1990, you co-founded the Hawaii Island Hemp Council, way before most people even knew what hemp was. And then you were the first organic farmer into the Waimea farm lots, which back then was all chemical and conventional farmers, and had the largest organic tomato operation in the state, which was quite a feat. And then you had the first community-supported agricultural project, first CSA on the island, and the first salad mix in the islands, but it wasn't lettuce, it was all these different herbs. And I think one of the things that was so fun to remember was the provisioning you did for the Polynesian Voyaging Society. And for their trips in the early and mid 90s, you grew the canoe foods that they could actually take on some of their longer voyages. You held up your hand and you said, yeah, I can do that. And then of course you continue to be a pioneer in the hemp industry here in Hawaii. You coordinated stakeholders and farmers statewide to get the hemp legislation passed, about 6-8 years ago, and then got the first hemp license. And the way that you're integrating food and polycropping food with hemp to show what can be done and what hemp can be for Hawaii.
They say you're known here as a surfing farmer.
I guess I am known as a surfing farmer. I love the cross training. I think the water complements my field work really well. And I use ocean seawater as part of my fertility program. Yes, I've been blessed to mentor many young people coming through my farm. Hawaiian style, we worked with Haleoponopono for a little while and had kids coming up working with us at the farm, and I'd put them in their own sections and they would just really tune into the land and have great experiences. And some of our kids went on and get college credit for what they did at the farm, and others went on to have their own farms and have really great farming careers.
I feel very fortunate. I've been able to work with Hawaii Farmers Union United, the Hawaii Hemp Farmers Association, and we're working to make our Hawaii Hemp program, more doable for Hawaii farmers. It's been probably the most challenging program in the country to farm under, and we're grateful for the legislators' support. Part of that work that I was focused on was working towards implementing the mission that folks like Clarence, who worked on the initial hemp legislation, had a vision for how hemp could support food security in Hawaii. Because we know hemp is going to be a cash crop. It already is, especially if you're on the CBD cannabinoid side, like we haven't seen in a long time for any agricultural crop. And that's not going away. So it's a real opportunity for our rural communities in Hawaii to benefit, but primarily I think on a small scale and integrated into food. And we saw that as an opportunity to increase food security because, as you know, we import about 95% of our food into Hawaii, and most of the farms are subsidized by outside jobs or some kind of other income. A lot of farms are financially unstable, especially now with COVID. So the vision was we get really great hemp farmers like Clarence and the other veterans who have also done food farming to help food farmers farm hemp once a year, every couple of years, get a nice lump sum of money, especially if the farmers are participating and owning the infrastructure for processing. And that makes food farming more viable. It's also more attractive for young farmers because even though we've got a nice young farmers movement, it's been going strong now for almost a decade. We lose a lot of young farmers because the finances aren't there. The other reason for working on modifying and trying to create something different here in Hawaii with regard to hemp, which is focused on quality, regenerative agriculture, and potentially smaller, more like our Kona coffee model, is because we can avoid a lot of regulations that are starting to crop up in other states. Because when you do, unfortunately what we've seen in some places, is of course not everywhere, is when they start to do these mass scale CBD grows, it can degrade the environment. And that's not what HFUU is about, that's not what we're about. So if we focus on quality, we focus on cottage industry, we bring our farmers along in owning the infrastructure, we can avoid overregulation and we can lift up our farmers financially, increase food security, and take care of our environment.
What is your vision for the future of Hawaii farmers?
I think each farmer should be blessed to produce a foot of soil in their lifetime so that 7 generations can eat from that land.